All right, let's get rocking and rolling. Hello, Flex partners. Thank you all for joining us again for another Flex Quarterly Summit. Welcome back for those of you that have attended one of these events in the past. And if it's your first time joining, welcome. We're excited to have you. I hope everybody is doing well and that you are as excited for today's event as we are. My name is Alex Stanford. I am a general manager leading our Flex partnerships teams, primarily in the West and central regions of the US. I'm dialing in from beautiful. The sun finally came out, Seattle, Washington. It was very gloomy and rainy today. So don't really know what the weather's going to do, but I love to see some sunshine. I'm excited to kick things off today. Again, with such an elite group of partners. You can see the attendee list continuing to rise. This group of Flex partners continues to impress me more and more quarter in and quarter out. I'm impressed with the impact, the reach of this network of teams, the operational efficiencies you all show, and the overall outstanding partnership sentiment that we have together with each and every one of you. I will cover this more in depth here in a few slides, but this group is the best of the best. We're excited about the future together. The theme of the day is systems to grow with a specific focus on people and processes. I think we could all agree that these are pretty vital elements into building an elite business. Next slide. So we're going to start today's event a little bit differently than summits prior. Prior, we pop up a poll question and we kind of get the juices flowing with the group. Instead, we're going to actually revisit something that we proposed to this group in quarter one. So go ahead and leverage the chat feature in the bottom of your screen and go ahead and make sure you select attendees as well, not just panelists on the bottom of your screen there in the chat. And we're going to revisit this question we asked. So next slide. Oh, you're already there. Awesome. We asked, what are you focusing on in your business in the first half of the year? So here's kind of the word cloud that we created as a group, and would really like to hear how this has maybe changed as we start looking forward towards the second half of the year. So go ahead and put in the chat feature at the bottom of your screen, what are you going to be prioritizing in your business in the second half of the year heading into 2022? Conversion, I love it. Recruiting, big theme, as you can see in the center of your screen from Q1. Accountability, huge. In order to drive high conversion, we need to have great accountability top to bottom. Profitability, absolutely. Growth, people, love that one. People are center. Wow, there is an awesome chat going on. Listings, 100% with the way the market conditions are shaping out. We're going to get into that later. Time management, awesome. That's a great call out, especially for all the leaders on this call. Mindset, great. There's an awesome word cloud here going on in the chat, and some themes. A lot of crossover between what we did in Q1, which I love to see. So let's jump over to the next slide and talk about just what are we going to get into today. We have a jam-packed agenda. I'm going to provide a high-level business update, incorporating the current Flex landscape, as well as walking through some recent announcements that we made a few weeks ago, going a little bit deeper into what we announced. Then I'm going to pass it over to Jeff Tucker, who is our senior economist at Zillow, to give us an update on the state of the housing market. Obviously, this timing is impeccable. There's a lot changing in the real estate market. He's going to walk us through some trends that we're seeing. We're really excited to have Jeff on deck for this summit. And then next, backed by popular demand, the meat and potatoes of this event, we're going to spotlight 3 outstanding teams. And based upon feedback from this group on the last summit, varying in team size. So that way the content's relevant for where you are at in your business today. These teams have scaled and maintained elite levels of performance since joining Flex. Most of them are over 200% to market in their respective areas. And they're going to share keys to success, how they've been able to drive results, through building highly effective systems and processes. So centered around that theme of the day. Get your notepads out during this segment. We want you all walking away with tactful strategies that you can implement into your business tomorrow. That's the goal. Then we're going to bring them back on stage for a live Q&A session at the end, facilitated by our very own Connor Murnane, one of our growth advisors. So use the Q&A section in the bottom of your screen there during those partner pieces to ask questions to the audience. Okay, next slide. So again, like I said, it's going to be a jam-packed event. So let's get started with a Zillow business update. Next slide. Okay, so here is the Flex partner base. For those of you that have been in these summits in the past, this channel has grown drastically in the last 12 months. We are at 827 Flex partners across the US, currently covering 46 states, 428 MSAs, and have over 17,000 agents in this network. We believe that this is one of the best real estate networks out there. Some of the best teams in the country are in this network. Next slide. Now, let's set the stage with a Zillow business update. Some of you may have seen this visual before, but for us, it's relatively new into our business. A lot of you have heard us talk about the bridge in the past. Today, our mission is to give power to the people to unlock life's next chapter. Now, how are we going to do this? What's our strategy? It's to help high intent movers find and win their home through digital solutions, first-class partners, and easier buying, selling, financing, and renting experiences. Key word there, in our strategy statement as a company, first-class partners is built in. That's all of you. As Flex partners, you're essential. You are essential to our mission of creating an end-to-end buying experience for our customers, creating experiences that both empower our shared customers to find a great agent, tour property, finance, and really close on the home of their dreams. To make this mission actionable and really achievable, we had to set some clear objectives. The first one, we had to understand what products and services work and which don't. We've learned a lot. Two, we have to get customers the right products at the right time. That's key. Based upon what door they open to come into the Zillow network, we need to offer the right product at the right time. If it's a mortgage, we'll say, great, we can get you a mortgage. Even better, we can get you connected to one of our best premier agents in the area. And even better, we can actually get you to tour the property that you want to go see seamlessly. And then three, it's increase the number of transaction-ready connections that we deliver to our partners consistently. That is key for us in the future. I'll come back to that as well. So let's dig in and talk about what we announced last month, some changes we are making, and how it's coming to life in the marketplace. So next slide. So last month, we announced that starting May 25th, moving forward, we'd only be partnering with local Flex teams in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Denver, Colorado to work all connections in the marketplace. With this transition, it enables us to launch upcoming products and services in these specific markets. What this means at a high level is these two markets will transition to be full Flex markets for the entire MSA, only worked by Flex partners. While Denver and Raleigh will be full Flex markets, we are also excited to be testing in other cities like Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, and Atlanta, while not changing the market dynamics, not flipping it to full Flex, still having it market-based pricing Flex operate in the same areas. So why are we doing this? Shifting our resources to this model, it gives us a new way to focus on innovation and really understand its impact during key points in the real estate funnel. These products and services are designed to create well-prepared customers, again, a theme of what I'll talk about, that we can connect to you in our mission to create a more seamless, integrated, end-to-end experience for our shoppers. What this simply means is get more high-intent shoppers in the hands of our best partners more consistently to help us all close more business. Flex partners, you all, are uniquely positioned to explore this experience with us, and we believe it's the future of real estate. Now let's get into what is actually being deployed in these markets outside of the market flips. Let's talk some specifics. So go ahead and go to the next slide for me. So what else launched? What's a part of these market flips? Today, in this new approach of focused innovation, we are excited to be testing our brand new Zillow Advisor program in these specific markets. The Zillow Advisor is a licensed connection specialist that is the first connection point with our customer, assisting these buyers with understanding the buying and selling process and sharing more information about the customer to our premier agent partners. Verbally, both over the phone via a live transfer, more robust details on that specific shopper to all of your agents, and then two, more robust notes in the Premier Agent app to well prepare your agents to take that connection. We're very, very, very excited about this rollout. Again, all in an effort to get you higher quality leads more often. The advisors will also follow up to assist buyers with financing milestones, including options via Zillow Home Loans, to give you that time back in your day, really enable you to focus more on getting your clients into the homes, of their dreams. I know you all have been wanting higher quality connections, and that enables it. This new rollout enables it in these markets. In an effort to get you more transaction-ready consumers, that's our goal. So the advisor is just one piece of what we're really excited about. What else is there to look forward to? So go ahead and go to the next slide for me. So touring. Customers who request a tour on Zillow are 3 times more likely to transact with an agent compared to traditional connections that you are receiving today. It's our mission to continue transforming and improving the touring experience and overall fulfillment rate of our tours. This will result in more business for you all more consistently. We want to transform a manual, phone-based reservation system to a digital one with tools to make touring simpler and more instant for everybody involved, agents and buyers and sellers, i.e. showing time, acquisition, and more digital options that we're investing in for 3D home tours. Next slide. As Flex partners, you've already been on this innovative journey with us. And outside of what we launched today, we're continuing this investment in other ways to bring more transaction-ready consumers to you more often. More to come in Q3, as this is usually the avenue we'll talk about this with the broader Flex group, but we're excited about the future together and what's to come. This group is such a great example of the success that can happen through deepened partnership. You continue to set the bar high for your peers, and we're excited to have you all part of this channel. We see Flex partners and Flex markets as providing the best place for us to take a targeted approach and explore new ways to help you and our clients win more often. We're excited for this continued partnership to innovate in these markets and better understand how we can help more buyers get into more homes faster through the support and expertise of this amazing network. You might be sitting here wondering, when is this coming to my market? What should I prepare for? Truthfully, we're going to learn a lot in these markets over the next 6 months. And we'll keep this group well informed as more products, pilots come to your marketplace. Feel free also to reach out to your growth advisor and get any questions answered about what we've talked about today. Before I transition to Jeff Tucker, we're extremely bullish. I want to make that clear, extremely bullish on Flex. But I've faced some headwinds recently due to both market conditions with the changing tides and overall connection volume impacts that's had, as well as us balancing a market-based pricing model, which is why it's very timely for us to have our senior economist, Jeff Tucker, go through a housing market update with us to talk about these changing market conditions. To recap, we are innovating with new, exciting products and are focused on keeping our partners and customers center on this mission forward. Thank you all for the continued partnership. We have a lot to be excited about with this partner base, and the future is very bright for Flex. So with that, I will pass the baton over to Jeff Tucker for a housing market update. Jeff, the stage is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. I'm thrilled to get to join you all. I always love having a chance to actually talk to the people doing real estate and not just looking at it through the lens of a bunch of data, which is my privilege as a job as a senior economist here. So my basic thesis about what's going on in the housing market is that we are at an inflection point, which we knew had to come eventually. And an inflection point is really the point on the curve where it stops getting steeper, where from a buyer's perspective, it stops getting worse. From sellers' perspectives, it stops getting stops getting to be quite such a perfect time to sell a house. So I'm going to dive in with all our kind of indicators showing just how hot this market is, kind of confirming that, that really is the steepest point on a kind of S-shaped curve is your inflection point, but also all the leading indicators we have to suggest that there's a change in the winds, and this market that has broken records over and over again is finally on the cusp of cooling down. So just jumping right in to start with, we've got kind of a 30,000 foot overview of the market. On my first slide here, it's the annual growth in the Zillow Home Value Index. That's our proprietary home kind of price index. It functions a lot like Case-Shiller, but we think it's better because it's based off this estimate, and it's much more timely, and it's available down to the zip code level. So we just got our numbers for April, and yet again, for the 13th straight month, we set a new record high for annual price appreciation in the post-2000 era. We're pushing 21% for the typical kind of middle of the Zestimate home value distribution nationwide. That's unprecedented. That's not something any of us ever expected to see in a chart about the housing market, but it is where we are. It's something that I think all of you have experienced in the last year, and it's extraordinary. But we are expecting that to begin to slow down over the next several months. And now, of course, there isn't really a uniform national housing market. We all operate in our local housing markets. And so to give you a bit of the flavor of kind of some of the hottest and coolest housing markets at the moment, we've just broken out among actually the 100 biggest metros in the country, who's got the fastest annual appreciation. There are places in Florida pushing 50% annual price growth. Fort Myers, Sarasota, Bradenton. It's astonishing. Some of these other bigger cities have been kind of the pandemic heavy hitters. That's Austin, Raleigh, Tampa. Really, I summed it up in the title here. The Sunbelt markets have just been white hot. If we look around the country, okay, at the other end of the list, the Beltway, so DC and Baltimore, kind of bringing up the rear with a mere 11% annual price appreciation, still would have been a jaw-dropping pace in the pre-pandemic era. Now, I want to sort of further dig in on, okay, so what exactly has been happening in the last several months? So instead of 20 years of data, this is about 25 months. This is just kind of going back to the beginning of the pandemic. It kind of tells, and it's our raw price index growth. So monthly price growth, we just logged another month of nearly 2% price growth on our raw index in April. And this kind of tells the story of what happened in the pandemic, of gradually accelerating, heating up all through 2020 and into 2021. It seemed like the fever broke for the first time. It seemed that way in Q3 of last year. Things kind of cooled off a bit in that August, September, October period. And then incredibly, the market did it again and reignited in the winter. I think what we saw was a whole lot of stymied buyers, who got outbid, didn't get the house they wanted. They kept beating the pavement, looking for homes right through the holidays, right through winter, and kept that price appreciation hot. That's it's a pretty extraordinary story, and I've sort of mentioned some of those other factors. So if we jump to the next slide of the nitty-gritty of how this is playing out, what's driving up the prices is very often you see the last crop of homes, you talk to the other agents in your market, the other folks in your brokerage, and figure out, okay, what did those homes actually what did they actually accept as an offer? And you keep hearing more and more folks selling above list price. So if you check out this chart, this is the first in kind of a series I'm going to do showing the seasonal trend of a typical year. So we're looking January to December, but each line is kind of the last few years of data. And it shows kind of where 2022 stands so far. And what's extraordinary is we passed the point of more than half of homes selling above list price back in February, normally kind of the doldrums of the spring, before the spring selling season. So by this metric, the market is still even hotter than it was in spring 2021. That is a fairly extraordinary measure, and that is kind of the proximate force pushing up those prices. So another aspect that we know about this, not only are homes selling above asking price, they're selling incredibly quickly. The pace at which the typical home goes pending has been down under a week for the last couple months. We're down to 6 days for the median home to go from listed to pending. That's just, we're like pushing the physical limits of how real estate can transact, leaving enough time basically to get that listing up maybe on Wednesday night. You've got your offer review date on Monday or Tuesday, And at least we're still spanning the weekend in most cases that people have to actually look at a home before it comes off the market. The previous years here almost just look like ancient history, to think back to a time where in the hottest part of the spring selling season in 2019, it took 3 weeks for the median home to go pending in our data. The pandemic has just radically accelerated the pace at which we do business. You all working through every weekend, working the incredible hours it takes to get that transaction, get that home listed, get the offers, write the offers when you're on the other side of the table, and have a signed contract by Tuesday is a testament to just the radical change in the market. So next slide, please. The final kind of indicator where I'm going to have a chance to start to transition from, okay, how crazy hot is this market, to what are some leading indicators of how it might be turning, of why I think this is an inflection point, not just the hottest market on record, as I've kind of gone over in a few ways. Inventory finally began to pick up in March and April. And it's continued right into May. So we're finally seeing some kind of rapid improvement, improvement in a sense of balance, improvement from the perspective of buyers for sure on the inventory front. As this shows, it's still way below normal. We're still down. It's around 740,000 homes that we saw listed at any point in the month of April. That compares to over 1.5 million homes at the same time in 2019. So we've got a long way to go to catch up to normal. I'm not sure we ever actually will get back to 2019 numbers in the near future. When we've surveyed a bunch of economists and done our own extrapolations, a lot of people are kind of thinking sometime in 2023 or 2024, we'll be back into a more balanced phase, whatever those numbers shake out to be. So it looks maybe imperceptible, but that 2022 line is closing in on 2021. We have reason to think with the way sales and listings are going this year, that it will actually cross sometime later this year, that we'll at least have year-over-year growth, maybe in the late summer or fall. And frankly, that has already begun in some markets. For instance, Denver is a market where inventory really hit rock bottom a year ago and has now actually begun to kind of surpass year-ago levels. All right, next slide, please. So another indicator here is tracking that flow of newly pending listings. When we're tallying, oh my gosh, you guys all sold in 6 days. Well, those sales did not all, there are not quite as many of those sales as there were last year. So our pending sales, which is kind of our most real-time tracker of the flow of sales, that's been slipping further and further behind previous years. In fact, it's now somewhat below 2019. And that's one of the only metrics in which the current market looks in any way comparable to 2019. Now, this isn't a pure demand metric. This is also, you can't buy what's not for sale. So it's also important to look at the flow of listings hitting the market. They are, so on the next slide, I've got the flow of newly listed homes. We are getting that spring, that seasonal curve, more homes in the spring and early summer hitting the market, but it's still not really keeping pace with previous years. So what this kind of says to me is, putting those 3 pieces of information together, really, when we see that inventory begin to climb, maybe closing year over year, it's not because of a flood of listings, of everyone and their mother decided to sell their home all of a sudden. It's really that the sales, the churn, kind of the pace at which those homes are getting sold, it looks like buyers are beginning to step back. And in a second, we'll think about why exactly buyers are stepping back. But as buyers seem to have finally kind of run out of gas, that's why we see inventory begin to rise. And inventory, I think, is really the barometer of the housing market. It foretells the changes, and it's also the proximate cause of market conditions. There were not enough homes to go around, so everyone kept bumping into each other, putting in multiple offers on the same homes. On the flip side, on the converse, as inventory begins to rise, sellers feel a bit more competition, and we begin to see the sales prices cool down. So next slide, please. Now, why might buyers be hitting a wall or running out of gas? Well, the cost of a mortgage is up astronomically. It's up now over 5.3%. This is just from the primary mortgage market survey for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. That's up more than 2 points, about almost 2.5 points, frankly, from some of the lows set in 2021. And now on the next slide, if we think about what that translates to for people's actual principal and interest, we have this extraordinary fact that we just observed last month. The typical mortgage, just principal and interest on a mortgage payment, is now up by more than half from the same time a year ago. That year-over-year growth, it went from about $965 for the typical home, typical priced home in the country, to $1,475 in a single year. Now that's the combination of higher interest rates and that 21% price growth I already talked about. That means a whole lot of people who maybe were browsing Zillow, maybe talking to their agents a year ago about what their budget is, even if they're talking in December, their budget doesn't buy what it did 5 months ago. So buyers are really needing to reassess, where can I buy? What can I buy? How am I going to finance this? Because we've just never seen anything like this radical change driven by both higher prices and higher interest rates. All right, so I'm going to leave you with our forecast from our forecasting team. They take all this information, all these statistics I was just talking about. They have a sophisticated econometric model for forecasting. What we've been doing this spring is kind of revising down our forecasts. So now we're projecting, that's the non-seasonally adjusted existing home sales on the left. We're kind of marking it down to now, several percentage points below 2021 sales volumes. We're thinking for the full calendar year, it'll be 5.74 million existing home sales. And then for our price forecast, you can kind of see that inflection point there. This is the forecast of price growth. So this isn't saying, oh, prices are about to take a swan dive, but that pace is about to slow way down. And we are expecting that to kind of peak in the next couple months, that annual growth rate. And now when we look a full year out, we are thinking it's actually getting down closer to the lower teens, or maybe 10%, looking as far out as our forecast goes, much of which is kind of baked into the current momentum of this year, so that we really think prices may be kind of plateauing essentially next spring, sometime early next year. All right, so that was a whirlwind. I will be able to share these slides, so don't worry. And if this was interesting to you, check us out at zillow.com/research. We're going to put up our April market report any day now this week. And you can also download the data for this and for your own market at zillow.com/data. So thank you so much for your time and attention and having me here. Now it's my pleasure to hand it over to Connor Murnane, the MC extraordinaire of the Q&A panels at these Flex gatherings. So with that, I will say goodbye. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. I know there's a ton of discussion right now in our industry about market conditions and predicting the future and all that. So it's incredibly helpful to get some real data-backed insights. And thank you, Alex, for sharing some of the the plans and the vision for the future of Flex and the broader business and how we all fit into that. So always helpful. And just as we had said, on track for our agenda, next we have our partners coming up to speak. So by survey, which, as a quick reminder, after this, we'll be sending a survey out to get your feedback, your suggestions. But just about always, our most popular portion of the summit is hearing from some of the best partners from around the country. It's hearing from the peers, from you all who are actually on the journey out there doing the work. And so these partners, I'll just say real quickly, are doing some incredible things. We really handpicked who we felt would be most useful to you all on this call today to take away some of their systems, their tactics, and really steal the secret sauce. So I encourage you not only take some notes, take some screenshots. We will be sharing this recording afterwards, but maybe even more useful right now is if you have some questions, this will be one of a few reminders, plug those questions into the Q&A. And when we get through these sort of mini TED Talks, these mini presentations from each individual speaker, we'll have some time at the end to go deeper on any of these topics that you all would like to hear from or learn about. So I'm going to welcome our first guest coming up here, Erica Anderson, coming out of North Carolina. She's an absolute beast, running a very successful team, So happy to have you on stage. Welcome, and the floor is yours. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you for having me, Connor. So my name is Erica Anderson, and I own a small real estate boutique style firm in Holly Springs, North Carolina, that's just outside of the Raleigh area. I want to go over today a little bit about myself and my firm, flex how it was then, compared to now, navigating the challenges that we had, recruiting continually, the training and support that we have, our weekly flex meetings, monthly and yearly incentives that we kind of program into our flex program, as well as the mentorship program that we have. So I've been in business since 2009. I opened my firm in 2014. My firm has over 50 agents in it, and my team did just over 133 million in 2021. That's 324 units. And then right now, year to date, we have approximately 52 million closed, 115 units, and 43 million under contracts at 86 units. I will say that I like to do about 28 million in volume a year to kind of keep my hands in the fire, but I don't want to exceed that because it's very important not to go over that. So I had about 40 connections when I first started in 2021, February, and now I have 160. And the flex agents went from about 8 to 30, and our office support staff members more than doubled. I have 4 supportive staff members, 3 transaction coordinators, 1 dedicated flex admin, and 1 full-time inside sales associate, and I'm adding 1 or 2 more of them kind of continually. So some of the challenges that we had to overcome was getting somebody to score every single call. I needed somebody that was dedicated to the flex program and to not only score call, but to actually in real time kind of assist the agents who were lacking in certain areas. And then I made a shift in making Zillow the accountability partner for the agent. So instead of me being the person that is, micromanaging these agents, it's just me kind of being a colleague to them and saying, this is the program, this is the way Zillow wants things done, and don't shoot the messenger, but here's what, we're going to be doing. And then the mentorship program allowed me to leverage my time, which was really important, just freeing up my time and allowing me to do more of the back end work. And then finding administrative talent is key because you can hire a whole bunch of people, but if they're not talented in what they do, you're not going to be able to do the volume that you prefer. And then also, I didn't just discard my experienced agents who were on flex prior or just experienced agents in general. What I've found is that my incentives that I offer motivate them to start following the script guideline because there was a little bit of resistance there. And when they see the newer agents succeeding and thriving, they will start shifting to meet those goals to match, how well these new agents are doing. You can teach an old dog new tricks. So we're always recruiting talent. I mean, it is 24/7. You never should feel like you have too many because this business is a revolving door. You have people who you think are going to be great that end up not being great. You have people whose life circumstances change and they're out of this business. So we are on, Glassdoor, Indeed, we're on Craigslist, we're posting anywhere you can possibly think of, social media, Facebook, Instagram, everything like that. And our primary focus is, do you want Zillow leads? We're a flex partner. And the other thing is, do you want to earn potentially multiple 6 figures? A lot of people, they love the service aspect of this job, but they also want to make at least 6 figures. And we have a lot of people who are actively making multiple 6 figures on our team. What sets us apart is we have a really great mentorship program. We have a high level of training and support, and we're in 5 MLSs. So what I do is I have an onboarding specialist. She will do these ads. She will weed through them. She'll do an introductory call. And if it looks promising, she'll do a more in-depth conversation with them. We do not do any part-time agents on our team or the flex program. It just doesn't end up working out. And then if somebody kind of questions whether or not, they want to be a part of this, or they have more questions that she's not able to answer, then we're going to invite them to come to the office, sit down with me directly, and I'll show them kind of in real time how we operate. So I consider ourselves like the Harvard of real estate. I've heard baptism by fire, SEAL Team 6. We are kind of, we expect an elite level of agent joining our firm. We are not the kind of people that are going to be singing songs and, kumbaya-ing each other. This business is just not that way. So we have a sink or swim mentality, but we give every agent the tools and the resources that they need to succeed. So we feel like we really give that to them, and we're supportive, but we tell them upfront that this is like, you have to really want it. And so our staff's going to onboard the agents. They're going to set up their zip forms templates. They're going to review the real estate documents with them, as well as basic firm protocol. They're going to walk them through the process of writing multiple practice offers. We always recommend 5 to 10. And then we send all the flex training to them and then connect them with their mentor. We also have a private Facebook group that they're then invited to. And we do, videos, we do market updates. We do just tips so that they can refer back to it, or they can go all the way to the beginning and kind of see the resources we have. And it's kind of an open forum of discussion, so that somebody wants help with an open house or anything like that, in real time, they can ask it, and we have 50+ agents that can respond. So we do weekly flex meetings, and we make that mandatory, and it's 30 minutes. So, if you do it longer than 30 minutes, people's eyes are going to glaze over and they're going to be totally just checked out. So I take that flex support staff member. She chooses 3 of the calls. They can be terrible calls, they can be great calls, they can be kind of in between. She's going to add her notes. We're going to listen to each one of them. She then tells, her side of things, what she's seeing. I give them my opinion. And also we do questions and answers for agents. But the key with this is the first Tuesday of every month, I disclose, or I let them know what type of incentives that we're holding. And then I'm going to remind them every single Tuesday after that of what that is, to motivate them. And then at the very end of our weekly flex meetings, we do a call shift, which prevents burnout. So anybody who's been actively working with their clients, they can continue working with them and not feel like they're getting a million phone calls. And then the people who have been waiting for new leads, they're fresh and ready to go. So our incentives, this is huge. This is, if you can take anything away from my presentation, I'm going to say that this is it. So the incentives are tied to attendance. You have to attend. The April incentive was you had to get at least 200 contracts, and if the winner got 2, they got 1,500. If they got 3, they got 2,500, and if they got 4, they got $3,000. If it is, tied, then the agents split that amongst themselves equally. But the incentive is also split per closing. So not only do you want people to put things under contract, you want them to see it through closing. So if one of the transactions doesn't close, then let's say they won 3, then a third of that incentive is not received by them. But my favorite part of doing things is my big incentive. So if you are a top producer on my team, we do a destination vacation. I have done New York City, New Orleans, and last year we did a Jew ranch, the White Stallion Ranch in Arizona. So 15 to 20+ million dollar producers go to that destination, more of an exotic location. And then people who do between 10 and 14 million, they're going to go a little bit more local, the beach vacation, mountain, something like that. But it just sort of celebrates their success, and it kind of keeps us together as a team and motivates them to just finish the year strong, but to also do better next year. How do we choose our mentors? So our mentors have to be non-provisional. They have to either do 20+ million in volume, or they have to convert with flex at 12% or higher. The broker in charge, which is me, for my firm, I choose the mentor based on the mentee's personality. Now, if I got that wrong, or it's just not a right match, I will switch the mentors with the mentees. But if an agent does not work, or it's failure to thrive with 2 mentors, 2 different personality types, then I'm going to look really in depth at the person and see if it's, going to be a problem with this program, because it's usually, indicative of an agent who's not going to thrive in general. So my goal is I'm going to pair top producers with these agents, and it's going to catapult them into writing offers within their first month, rather than waiting 2 or 3 months. So when a newly licensed agent joins the firm, they're either brand new or they haven't written a lot of offers and they feel like they need the mentorship program. So they haven't written an offer at all. We require that they join the mentorship program for their first 3 transactions. This mentor will write their offer in real time, kind of tell them what they think the market is seeing, what they think that they're going to need to offer. They have to write 10 offers for their first buyer, they will. They see them contract through closing. This market requires an agent who is boots on the ground and actively in it. I'm more on the listing side, so I can't strategize with them the way that a buyer specialist or somebody doing more buy sides can. And in return, the mentor gets 20% of the commission from their mentee's first 3 transactions. That's their percentage. Then after the first 3 transactions, it's completely optional. So I DISC, it's a personality test, all my mentors, and we're going to go into 2 of my mentors' DISC results. My first one is an attainer. She is higher in dominance and steadiness. So she is not going to hold your hand. She's not going to, sing kumbaya to you. She's going to be more to the point and direct. She's a really nice person, but she's perfect for somebody who just wants the meat and potatoes, no fluff. She is going to be steady and persistent, driven to complete goals, loyal to a vision. She builds on tried and tested methods. She's motivated by team goals, being able to lead, relying on proven methods, and loyalty in general. My second one, the advisor. She's high in influence and high in steadiness. So she's going to do more hands-on, real-time. She's going to be that mother hen, and she's going to give people hands-on experience that some people really truly need. And her characteristics are enthusiastic, trusting, optimistic, persuasive, talkative, people-oriented, and she's motivated by praise and acceptance, a friendly environment, freedom from too many rules, and she likes delegating her own tasks. So as a whole, I really strongly believe that you want a smaller pool of high converters versus a larger team with too many low converters. I had an agent last year. She did 45 million herself on my team. She's already over 25 million this year. So you can have a smaller team that does higher volume. And recruiting is essential because you don't know if that person who joins is going to be really amazing or if they're not, and it's a revolving door. You can never have too many people, but keep the top producers in it and weed out the ones that are failing to thrive, essentially. Weekly flex meetings are key, 30 minutes, but also adding that incentive and tying the attendance of that to those incentives is great. And then the incentives themselves are fantastic. Consider a destination or something that's really different. And then our mentorship program has allowed agents to really just thrive and write offers fast. I mean, I had people close their first month and never been licensed and 22 years old. So I appreciate the time that you guys have had with me, and I will be here for any questions and answers when we're completed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erica. There's a ton of takeaways that I hope people are taking notes on. I think super inspiring just to see your over 400% growth in just a little bit over a year. I think really, really smart to really have a dedicated flex admin, and it's cool to hear that was one of your ideas that you'd taken away from a previous summit. And just like you'd brought up, if anyone has any questions about her mentorship program, her incentives program, obviously her info is on the screen right now, but we can dive into some of those questions toward the end here. So I'm going to say thank you to Erica. She parts off the stage. I'm going to welcome our next guest, Jennifer Kenna, who's actually coming out of Florida. And Jennifer has been in the Flex program for right around 6 months. And that's something that I think is, we haven't always gotten someone that's maybe inside the 6-month window, even though we've got hundreds of partners on the call right now that are inside their first 6 months. So it's nice to get kind of different perspectives from different angles. So Jennifer, I'm going to welcome you to the stage. Thank you for coming up to share all the things working for you. And the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Connor. And great, Erica. Great job. A lot of good takeaways there. All right. So yes, my name is Jennifer Kenna. I'm calling this the climbing Mount Zillow. So the struggle is real. A little bit about myself. I've been in real estate about 8 years. As a team, we've done over 500 transactions. We've done over 225 million in sales revenue. I also do some real estate coaching with agents all over the country. So I have about 150 different agents that I do Zoom calls similar to this and help coach them in their business. I'm also a wife and stepmother, and I'm from Florida, which is kind of unique as well. So first of all, I want to start with our mission statement. Oh, sorry. Go back. All right. Start with our mission statement. So this was really, really important in our organization to put this together. So initially we kind of, I ran as a solo agent, then I started generating my team and trying to build this, well, you really have to look at it like a company. We're an organization. So we took a lot of time to really think out what is our mission, because we want everyone in our organization to know what we do, how we do it, why it's important. So all of that's really, really valuable. So I challenge you guys, we don't have a mission statement to put one together. So ours is the Jennifer Kenna Home Selling Team is a growing group of engaged and collaborative real estate professionals who help their clients and each other achieve their real estate dreams. And we want to dominate the entire Gulf Coast sales region. That's our big goal. So today's agenda, I kind of want to go over some principles, some problems that we've had, some recruiting strategies, really go over what we're doing as far as onboarding and ongoing training with our team agents. What does that agent experience look like? So one thing that everyone on our team knows, we have 3 customers, we have buyers, we have sellers, and we have our agents. So we want to make sure that they're having a really great experience within our team as well. Some leadership that's been really, really important in our business and totally changed things for us this year is our agenda. Starting from 2021, so we've been in Zillow, like Connor mentioned, about 6 months. What our Zillow journey kind of looked like. We were a premier agent for some time. So I had 1 transaction coordinator, 6 agents, 1 inside sales agent. We did about 115 transactions last year. The real problem there is that 40 of them were mine. So I was a very high producing agent myself, which made me very busy, which made me not as good of a team leader. So some changes that we put into place for this year, I have less sales myself, which has been tough, but less sales for myself, adding more support, more leadership, and more processes on my team to make sure they're successful. So now we have 2 full-time TCs. We have 10 agents. We had 13, so we've kind of lost some. We've added more. I love that Erica added on to that as well. 1 inside sales agent. We have a Zillow manager now that really focuses on our numbers and our conversions. 1 director of sales and 3 team leaders. So our agents that are performing at a high level, we want to give them opportunity. We want them to start being team leaders to help mentor others that are in our organization as well. So just as a recap, we've been with Zillow, we've done 38 transactions already in 6 months. It might actually be a couple more. We had a couple more closed since the slide. We've done 77 total sales, and we're on track to do 154 closings this year, which is about a 40% increase, but only 10 of them have been mine. So that was a really big jump, a really big goal for us. So I'm coaching the team more and selling less homes myself. Some key principles, and you have to establish these principles and then follow your own rules. So sometimes as a team leader, we might, kind of cheat on our own rules. So you want to make sure that you stick to this. Number 1, you want to hire people that you trust. You also want people who buy into your vision. We call this your avatar. So you're looking for somebody that is sharing your mission, sharing your core values, and wants to achieve at the same level that you do. Because it's much easier to bring people with you when you guys are running at the same pace than dragging someone behind you. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. So number 2, you want to clarify your mission and core values. So it's so valuable as a team, as an organization, that everybody knows what are we doing and why do we do it and why do we exist, and then live by them. So these are not just words on the board or, on the wall in our office when you walk in. We actually talk about it every meeting. We tell when an agent has really exemplified a certain core value, and we recognize them for that. So we really live by those. Also pull your Zillow Advisor in close. I think this has really helped us a lot because our success is mutual. So we really, really want to make sure that they're a partner with us. So one of our core values is relationships. We want to have a good relationship with one of our vendors. And Zillow is going to be a very close vendor for us. It's really helped us grow. So we want to make sure that we're in close proximity to our advisors. Another thing I've learned is have fun and recognize success. So you have to know that realtors like to have fun. A lot of them are high I personalities. They like to interact. They like to be part of a team. So just make them feel special, especially when we're working really hard and we're hitting goals. It's really important to recognize that. We do Taco Tuesdays and we took a boat out last weekend in Sarasota, which was really fun. So all those kind of things are really valuable and important to keep that culture really strong with your team. Some problems that we've had. So because I'm a high I personality, I tend to like a lot of people. I think I could make anyone successful, right? With all the tools and resources and training we have available, anyone can do it. So I had to read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. You want to get the right people in the right seats on the bus. So what's so important to that is just, if you know someone's not a good fit, just let them know early, because we are achieving at a high level. We do have very big goals. If somebody wants to work part-time or doesn't want to work weekends, it's just not a right fit for our team. Then we train to the process. So especially the Zillow processes, following the ALM, updating all their statuses with their clients. All those things are really, really important to our processes, that anyone that comes on, we want them to make sure they're doing it our way. So we don't want a bunch of individual agents all doing it their way they think is best. They have to do it our way to really scale and grow this. Reporting and feedback is so, so valuable. So I love that Zillow provides us all those monthly reports, but really analyze them, look at them, see where you can make improvements, and give that feedback to your team. So let them listen to some of the calls, if it's good or bad, and giving that live feedback so they know what's expected of them. And all of this is going to help with recruiting and scaling, which is the big goal here. So recruiting, so we use a tool called WiseHire, which I would very much recommend. What I love about it is it works with the DISC profile as well. So it'll let you know right away, is a person a good fit from their natural abilities or not? And never stop recruiting. So sometimes we get comfortable like, oh, we're at a good size now, we have enough leads to feed everybody. No way, because life does happen. So you want to keep recruiting. Define and test your avatar. So you don't want just anyone with a pulse and a real estate license to represent your team and your brand. So we're looking for people that are high DI personalities and are coachable. So we found a lot of agents that have been in the business for a long time, they want to do it their own way, and they're not willing to conform and work within the processes that we've learned to be valuable. So they have to be coachable. That's a must for us. We're happy to take in people 0 to 3 years in real estate. Because we offer so much training, we have so many tools and resources, we're happy to take brand new agents. We actually have someone who's just passed their test yesterday. So we're happy to train them and bring them in. 0 to 6 transactions is okay. So if they don't even have a lot of experience with the contract writing and offers and all that, that's what we have TCs for. So we're happy to have those people. Setting the expectations early, so especially commission splits and referral fees and all the things that might have some pushback or might have some issues later, just talk about it up front. So we do have a sales agent contract we have them sign, even though they're independent contractors. Lets them know these are what our expectations are. Then we invest in our culture. So this is really important. We want to have that kind of social network. So we also have a Facebook page and a Slack channel. We keep in touch with each other. We help each other. So all that training feedback really builds the culture. And I feel like everyone on our team we're like family, and we get to know each other's families, which is really valuable too. So onboarding and training. So now that you're constantly recruiting, how do you get all these people up to speed really quickly? So some of the tools that we found, we do have Google Calendar. We use Google Workspace, so everything is shared. So we know who's going on appointments, who's where, who's available. All of that's really valuable information for us. We also do buyer boot camps. So we'll go into a little bit more detail about that, but we want someone who's never sold a house to basically be under contract with their first buyer within 30 days. So that's our goal, and we really train to that. We keep our calendar full with lots and lots of training. We also do a knowledge jam and other things. Something that's helped us, some tools, is Trainual. So it's an online platform. We can share all of our documents, all of our information, all of our videos, and then we can make sure and track the agents have actually done the projects you've assigned to them. So it can track if they watched the videos, if they took the exam afterward. It does a lot of surveys and feedback. So that's been a really helpful tool for us. We also have buyer packets. We have a whole buyer packet. So when the agent first meets with our Zillow buyer, they know exactly what to say, exactly what to do. How do you show the house properly? How do you write an offer that's going to be accepted? We really get into the nitty gritty and train our agents exactly step by step. We have implemented mentors and lead agents. So we found that this is really giving support while they're in the sale. Once they're already under contract, things happen. So we want to make sure that somebody that's closed a lot of deals is able to help get up to speed our other agents that are brand new pretty quickly. And then they have production meetings with them weekly. What happened? Anyone that you lost, anyone that I can help you with, all of that. They really dig into their business together. And then we're a flexible company because we're small. So we want to review those market changes. I loved what we learned about today. I took tons of notes on that so that we're constantly kind of being adaptable and flexible with the marketplace. So what does the agent experience look like? So like I said, these are customers for us. So we want to make sure our agents are happy. We don't want them to leave. So setting those expectations early, like I said, we have them sign an agent contract to make sure if they have any questions, we know before they get started. So for one, they know how much training is involved. We've had people that come on and go, man, you guys train a lot, or lots of meetings. Yeah, that's what we do. So we make sure they know that on day one. Our buyer boot camp is very specific. It's a 4-week program, but we have day by day what's expected, what they're going to learn, and it's a checklist. And then having fun. Like I said, we travel to different events together. We're doing something for Cabo next year in March. So we have lots of incentives, and we just want to enjoy each other because that's really what this business is all about. So here's what the buyer bootcamp entails. So like I said, it's about a 4-week program. Week 1 is gaining access to all the scripts. So we want them in the first week to know how to handle the ALM script and other scripts that we have. So we're having them memorize them, we're role playing them, we're really making sure that they are going to be good on the phone and they're going to be good at setting appointments on the first week. If they're afraid of the phone, if they're not catching on quickly, we'll know that first week. Number two, we're working with buyers training. So this is like, okay, now you have the appointment, you're sitting in front of the buyer. What does that consultation look like? Going through all their agreements and brochures and questionnaires, making sure they know how to complete all the forms as soon as they sit down with their buyer for the first time. Week three is the offer. All right, so we all know that you can't just write an offer and hope and pray that it gets accepted. We have to really, really make aggressive offers. So we want to make sure that their offers are being accepted. So we train on that. How do they show homes properly and in what order and what do they focus on? And making sure that we have a strong offer. And we'll give them some access to start making calls. So we don't want to do so much training that they're like, oh, they've never had a real life experience either. They'll be stuck in college. We want to give them access to start getting on the phone, let them fail. You know, I think the best way for them to learn is to fail a little bit, and they actually plug more into the coaching and training when they do see those mistakes that happen. Week four, we want to close the deal. All right, so now that we're here, now we have a contract accepted. You know, what does that look like? We have them shadowing different appointments with other buyer agents on the team, and now they're doing some prospecting and going on appointments themselves. And hopefully week five, they graduate. So if they're not ready and there's a certain part that they need to go back to, we'll send them back to training. But the idea is that by week five, they're ready to do hands-on training with their mentor. They should have at least 2 transactions in escrow. And then we're going to assign them a lead agent to join. Leadership, so valuable. So if I can say there's one thing that has changed our business from last year is me. So, you know, you can only grow as tall as your lid is for your leadership as well. So once you go to being a solo agent, to being a top agent, you know, to now running a team, I mean, you're a CEO of your business. So I either had to step up my game as a leader or I had to hire a CEO. So I found myself just caught in this spot. So there's lots of really good books. This is just one that I grabbed, Founder and the Force Multiplier. I think it's so valuable to find your person. So this talks all about having that kind of assistant that's going to bring, you know, a little bit of calm to your chaos. You know, as a CEO, usually we have lots of ideas and high energy. This is somebody who's going to help you put those systems in place that you need. So you have to find your person. Clarity, expectations, and feedback with your team. You know, after every meeting, we say, how'd this meeting go for you? 1 to 7. You know, let's do a temperature check. Was this worth your time? Not worth your time? What do you want to learn about? So we really get lots and lots of feedback from our agents. And then letting leaders lead the way. So we want to set by example. So I don't want to be a broker that doesn't sell any homes because I feel like I have to be out there to really have a taste of what's going on in the industry. And I think that's super important for the other agents that join the team. Lastly, the Zillow SAR. So we have one person that she owns the process with Zillow. She's listening to every phone call that comes in. She's giving feedback. She's following up on updates. I mean, basically Zillow is her baby and she does a fantastic job for us. So that's been a really big game changer as well. So that's it. So thank you guys so much. Any questions, anything I can answer, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Tons of stuff that you shared in there. One of my favorites, of course, is pulling your Flex Advisor in close, but also I know I saw some stuff in the chat there that people can take away from your onboarding process, using tools like Trainual and implementing your buyer boot camps. I think we may even have a question or two of that to come back to in the Q&A portion. But thank you as we bring up our last guest, last but not least on stage here, Mr. James Kruger coming out of Houston. He's been in the program for a little bit over a year, really a strong mega team doing some big things. So James, welcome to the stage. Appreciate you sharing all your secret sauce today. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Connor. Really appreciate you, Jennifer and Erica as well. My name is James Kruger. I'm the broker owner of Kruger Real Estate. We're a boutique real estate firm here in Houston, Texas, with just under 40 agents at the moment and about 15 support staff. Last year, we closed 460 transactions with just a little over 167 million in production volume. A little bit about our history. I started back in worst time ever, 2009. I began advertising with Zillow in July 2010 and kept seeing a return on my investment, so I kept increasing my spend. By 2013, I was doing over 90 transactions by myself. So in 2014, I actively started growing the business. In 2016, we had our very best year of production, but it was our worst year of profit. Things were not working. So we made some big changes and went from 75 agents down to 12 and rebuilt with a purpose. At the end of 2019, I was finally able to leave production, which allowed me to focus much more on the business. We then joined Flex in March 2021, and since then, our team has expanded even more. For us, finding success has always been about people and processes. So that's what we're going to focus on today. the changes we've made to our team, and the processes that have made Flex successful for us. We had some pivotal moments throughout our journey that helped set us up for success with Flex. The big restructuring that happened in 2017 is definitely one of those major pivotal moments. I was actually one of our top producers, despite running our team of about 75 agents, and all the revenue from production went straight to the company, and we are still losing money fast. All my work was barely keeping the company afloat. Not to mention, we had a lot of negative people on the team who were not taking great care of the clients and just weren't a great fit. So we revised our commission structure and we started hiring with a focus on culture. This was a very hard thing to do. I had to let a lot of people go, and some agents were definitely upset with me for reducing team commissions. But fast forward to 2019, and I was finally able to step away from production. I needed to. I could tell that I wasn't giving the best service to my clients, and it made much more sense for me to focus on developing our agents instead. The whole process took about 6 months, and once I was out of production, I felt like it helped our team grow even more. Plus, it was quite a change from me basically working 2 jobs. We entered Flex in March of 2021. At that time, it was primarily me and Chelsea, our COO, running the show. Luckily, we also had the great support of our Zillow Growth Advisor, Todd Stevens. There was little accountability with the agents, basically 0 lead review, and leads were coming in from all over the place. We also did not have a robust system for tracking or for metrics. Now, however, we have a high level of accountability among the team. Management has expanded, and we added a sales manager / trainer, a coach / recruiter, and an ISA manager and a transaction manager. We also now have onboarding process, a training schedule, and a great accountability system in place. We've brought on about 20 new agents and have doubled our ISA department. Navigating these changes, though, was a major process for us. So from the people side, when we first entered Flex, I was doing quite a bit. I was listening to all the calls. I was trying to train all the agents on the Flex process, and I was doing a lot of one-on-ones with the agents. This was definitely taking up a lot of my time, and it wasn't something that I was very good at, and definitely something I did not want to spend my time doing. Ultimately, I knew that I was not the best person for this position. I really dislike doing the one-on-ones and keeping up with people and holding them accountable. I definitely don't have the patience for that. And from a recent StrengthsFinder test, I'm both a wanderer and an innovator. Perfect for my ADD brain, but definitely not any good for managing. Plus, I had an agent who I thought would be amazing at that role. She is super organized, had the best notes, and had done an amazing job teaching newer agents on her own. Through the one-on-ones, I learned that she liked doing this kind of work and would actually prefer it. Plus, she wanted more of a steady 9-to-5 type of job, so I thought she'd be perfect for the role. The primary challenge with bringing Sloan on board was that she was a top producer for us. We'd be losing the revenue that she brought in, and we'd have to compensate her at a very similar rate to what she was making as an agent. It was like a double whammy on the books. I did a very thorough cost-benefit analysis and found that a small increase in year 1 production spread across our then current recruitment level would cover that cost. Consequently, year 2 and onward production should also increase, and that's where we really realize our true return on investment. Bringing Sloan in took a massive workload off my shoulders and allowed me to focus more on building the team. As Sloan got more agents following our processes through great training and through accountability, I continued working with the agents on their mindset and overcoming challenges. This is something that I could do and I was pretty good at, but it still wasn't really where I wanted to spend my time. I did have another top producer on my team, though, that through our one-on-ones told me that he really wanted to be a coach. This intrigued me. I could tell this young man would be much better at the role than I was. At that time, we were also starting to get more and more flex leads and we're quickly reaching agent capacity, and we needed to do some heavy recruiting. So we went through a very similar cost-benefit analysis. Tori's official position was to help recruit talent, help build and maintain our culture, as that helps with retention, and then to be the mindset coach for all the agents. This was truly pivotal as it freed up Sloan to develop a true onboarding process, a more robust training system, and allowed her to focus more on the sales management side of things by holding agents accountable, reviewing notes, and listening to calls. With Tori, however, we are again faced with losing the production of a top producer and having to compensate him at a very similar level to what he is used to. We did a very similar pay structure with both Tori and Sloan. Small base salary, compensation based on agent, team production, and performance. In other words, they get paid when we get paid, and then a small portion based on company profits. We lost 2 of our top producers and added an employee expense that was much higher than any other expense we've done before. But the benefits these 2 have brought in terms of productivity, conversion, and culture have more than made up for that risk. It was definitely a game changer for our team. Since joining Flex, we've gone from receiving around 80 connections per month to now receiving over 300 connections per month. We've gone from Flex accounting for 25% of our lead flow to now accounting for about 75% of our total leads. One analysis that I found to be really interesting about 4 months ago was that our ISAs were transferring out about 30% of non-Flex lead sources, but were transferring out 80% of Flex leads. In other words, Flex leads were much, much higher quality leads. So with that being said, we've since lowered investment and involvement in other lead sources and have made Flex leads our primary focal point. From a practical standpoint, the biggest process changes we made started with onboarding. When we first joined Flex, our onboarding process consisted of some very minor, hey, go watch these videos, and then that's just throwing the agents into the fire and seeing how they did. Now we have a very organized agent onboarding process that starts on the first and third Monday of every month. We actually got this idea from watching the other Flex summits. The onboarding process involves our training guide, there are printouts, slide decks, homework, and even a test mock transaction at the end to make sure an agent is fully prepared from the start to take amazing care of our Flex leads. Onboarding has to be both practical and educational. We use a lot of contents that we've made ourselves, but we also leverage the great tools we've got through Zillow, like Zillow Conversion Playbook, and of course, ALM. From a practical standpoint, onboarding also includes little details. Who does the agent go to when they have questions? Where do they get flyers? What are our expectations for them when using follow-up balls? Do they have the correct notification settings set up on their phone? We want our agents to know from the start that they're not alone on an island. Ongoing training and culture building has also changed. Originally, we were just doing a simple meeting with me basically talking about random topics every Tuesday to now having a more regular morning hustle group that happens Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. that's led by Tori and is all about role play, current challenges, updating notes, etc. It's a very dynamic training and it's meant to be fun, but also quite helpful. Since we've started the morning hustle, we've increased our agent conversion from having 48% of our agents convert at 5% or higher to now 72% of our agents convert at 5% or higher. Plus, we're at a 230% CVR to market. In fact, those that are below 5% are those that do not consistently show up to the morning hustle. It's been a long process of constant adjustments to find what works for us in terms of sustainable content and structure for these trainings. But what we found is it's a lot about practice and mindset. There's a weekly day-by-day structure that involves a lot of role play, practicing calls, scripts, and feedback coming from both from Tori and fellow agents. Our Tuesday trainings have also evolved. Originally, it was me getting up there talking about random topics. Now we have a more planned, more informative training led by guest speakers. One of the big things that's changed since we joined Flex is our level of accountability. Before we joined, we talked about accountability. We said we had accountability, but in reality, it was just talk. With the addition of the sales manager and the coach, we started having a real level of accountability. Very quickly, we saw which agents were receptive to feedback that accountability offers and which were not. The word micromanagement was even tossed around by those not willing to be held accountable. At the end of the day, we saw that some agents did not fit into our new schema, and we eventually parted ways. Accountability is something that we pay very close attention to when making a new hire. We look to see not only how receptive they are to being held accountable, but how they respond to feedback as well. As we saw that Flex was playing more and more of a vital role in our organization, we wanted to make sure that we motivate and keep the agents focused on what's most important. In terms of Flex, that's conversion. At the end of the day, the higher the conversion rate, the better we are. We included Flex metrics into our monthly and quarterly competition that we internally created here to motivate our agents to stay focused on activities that bring future business. Originally, we did include appointment rate, met with rate, and the CSAT score, but eventually we just stayed focused on a conversion rate. We also use conversion rate to establish which agents get priority over our leads. The higher the conversion, the higher the price point and quantity of leads those agents receive. This leads us to our other major change as a result of Flex. Our ISA team has grown from 5 ISAs to 10. We're constantly tweaking our inside sales agent process, but one of the most important things we learned was how important it is to have a good leader in place for that department. And we again hired from within and had one of our more experienced ISAs run that team. Having a leader there was instrumental in us quickly implementing small changes as we slowly tweaked the ISA department and processes in order for it to best serve our clients. We've learned quite a bit while in Flex. There's definitely no set path to follow. While we initially followed recommendations, we eventually created a system that worked very well for us. Don't be afraid to make mistakes or to make those hard decisions. We went through a variety of small failures along the way. And finally, definitely do not be afraid to let go of control. Trust others to do a great job and you'll be surprised what they can do. I really want to thank Zillow for being there with me from the beginning of our career. Also want to thank Todd Stevens for all his support during Flex. And of course, I appreciate you guys for having me. Feel free to add me on Instagram. Thank you guys.
Thank you, James. Great stuff. And I'll let you stay up here on stage with me while we invite our other guests, Jennifer and Erica, back up here. But overall, it sounds like, man, it was a solid kind of to hear about your sort of shift in mindset as you become a leader, because I think a lot of the partners on this call have or are going through that. And it seems like you got a lot of self-awareness to hire the right people around you at the right times. Okay, so that wraps up our presentation, our Ignite talks. We're going to go right into the Q&A. We've got about 14 minutes to talk about a few different topics here. We've got some of my friends on the back channel kind of organizing some of our questions. If you have more topics, please feel free to throw those in the Q&A section and or vote up any of these that you'd like us to touch on. But I'm going to probably bounce around a little bit on some of these topics. I'll call on some specific names and or mention or ask all three of you to maybe hit on the topic. And maybe my last request is going to be, since we're down to about 15 minutes, why don't we try and go for a kind of speed round style? We can keep it to like 30 to 40 seconds, per panelist to share sort of your perspective and your thoughts on this topic. But maybe sticking a little bit with the kind of the flex admin, or I think what Jennifer referred to as the force multiplier role. I think each of you kind of hired one or another type of person that's kind of running operations, helping to be the integrator, the person who's organizing and keeping things really tight. Can you spend maybe 30 to 40 seconds on talking about anything you may want to share around their compensation structure? You don't have to, numbers are probably different in various regions, but like the structure, maybe how you found that person. I know you touched a little bit on their DISC profile, but anything around really making that role successful in your business. And let's just, in the order of my screen, we'll kind of go reverse here. So James, and then Erica, and then Jennifer. So James, what about hiring those people? Anything that comes to mind that you can give as advice?
Like for us, we hired from within, and that was super vital because those agents already had a connection with the other agents, and it made a big difference for us. Again, in terms of compensation, we tied it to actual flex performance and team performance. And I think that's a thing that helps us. Just in case the market, for whatever reason, dips, then we're not stuck with a compensation that's locked in a place.
Like it. Internal seems to be a big recommendation from a lot of people I hear. How about you, Erica? Any thoughts on
I
that?
had an admin from a different firm just kind of walk in, and I had her do some other things in my firm, and then it turned into this role as I had a need for it. And she's a very positive, very warm personality, and she genuinely cares. I pay her just $20 an hour, and she's able to work remotely. I have some full-time admin that are sitting in my office 5 days a week, but she is one where she wanted to work from home. So I allowed it, and this ends up being kind of the perfect situation for her.
Nice. Love to hear the flexibility and just kind of the work model there. And I'm sure multiple partners have, like you said, a handful of different admins in different ways. How about you, Jennifer?
Yeah, so mine kind of had, her background was more as an ISA. So she knew how to, work the backside, like working with the customer, reaching out to them. So she would text them through the app. She would send them properties. She communicates with the agent like, hey, this person just came back live again. You should probably call them. So she's kind of just monitoring it all the time, and then just being that, assistant to everyone on the team. She also manages the calendar. So we do like time on, time off, so that the agents have time off. And then she'll also go back and forth with like, who's the fallback agent. So she manages kind of that calendar aspect as well. Yeah, great personality, very helpful, very detailed. So probably like, yeah, high S personality, that they like checklists and they like to know that things are done. And we just found her. She actually worked with another team in Texas and moved to Florida. That's how we met her. She was an agent for us.
Nice. I'm sure the ISA background is super helpful. And it also sounds like a lot of these different roles are capable of at least wearing a few different hats, from, training and onboarding to general oversight and reporting. How about maybe each of you can hit on this one? Let's go in reverse order. Jennifer, Erica, and then James. But so Jennifer, sticking with you on sort of meetings, because you brought up the buyer boot camp, you brought up a couple other trainings and onboarding. How do you all see kind of the trade-offs around virtual, in person? How often are you doing one or the other? And feel free to touch on any sort of events that you might do with the agents.
Yeah, so we do a lot virtually. So we cover a pretty big area as well. So we're in Tampa all the way to Bradenton. It's about 40-minute drive. So a lot of things we do virtually. Most meetings we do that way. But we will do once a month for sure together, and it's at a lunch. So like we get together outside the office, and we'll do one meeting the first Monday of the month. But yeah, I think that camaraderie is really important. So we'll do some sort of event. If we hit our goal for the quarter, then we'll, we did axe throwing or top golf or something that's just kind of fun, and everyone gets to know each other, and they bring their spouses and kids. And so that kind of thing is fun.
Nice. Yeah. Keeps it lean and efficient if you're virtual, but there's certainly a lot of depth and value in being in person. How about you, Erica?
I do the same thing. I do everything on Zoom and virtually. And if I do things in person, it's like an end of the year dinner, and I do monthly lunches. I kind of break my lunches up though, because we have so many agents. So I will break them up, and then I'll rotate it so that it's kind of more intimate. But I've also done things like Jennifer and we did like a shooting range, and, practice that with a professional, just fun, interesting things that some people may like, and then other things that people don't. And then we just kind of switch it around so that we get that sense of community and camaraderie while we're doing these activities and talking about the program or, what's going on in the office.
Good. Mixture of education and entertainment. Good stuff. James?
So we do pretty much everything in person. I'm not a big fan of doing it virtually. It's something that I'm kind of working on, but I thrive on seeing everyone here and having all that energy. And, and of course it builds out that camaraderie, and I feel that communication is much more effective in person. So for us, we're all about in person.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's there's a ton of energy that can be infectious when you're in person, but everyone's kind of finding, I think, what the rhythm works for them and their people. So how about this one, Erica, being targeted for you a little bit on your incentive program? And so can you share a little bit, anything that you'd be willing to around all the way from like the logistics of how you even budget, or where this comes out of splits? We had some questions around that, down to
I saw one of those questions, and it was, how is that affordable? And so you have to look at it as, all these people. So it's a minimum of 2 contracts. So, to even be in the running, you have to put 2 under contract. So you have many people on your team that are likely going to get at least 1. And then you're going to get, maybe a few people that get 2. But the goal is I think in April, my number 1 person got 4. And so that was pretty impressive. But you have to think of it as if you had 12 under contract and somebody won, let's say $1,500, that's really like $125 per closing. You're just dispersing it to 1 person, broken down per transaction. So, it just seems like it's more, and it's more to that person, but you as a whole, as the team lead, it's a lot less. And then somebody had asked about my split. So I do 50-50 on the buy side, and I do 70-30 on the listing side. So I pay for all the marketing, I pay for pictures and everything like that on the listing side. So I am more profitable on the listing side, but I'm doing more. We're entering into the MLS and stuff like that. But, it allows me to kind of incentivize the agents by not making my margins too low. And I am not a franchise, so I'm able to not have any type of franchise fees or anything like that the agents also get, off the top. So I just use that extra money by incentivizing them with larger chunks instead of, dinner for their family, which is cool, but they're just much more motivated to say they could get $3,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah, we've seen a few different creative ways where agents have, or team leads have a sort of a mentorship program where maybe they're reinvesting with success fees to the mentees, or in any sort of way reinvesting back in the business with rewards and an awards program. I think that's really, really smart. How about so bouncing around again? Let's go with James and Jennifer on kind of avatar of agents. We had a couple questions around agent types. We hear this theme quite a bit, and even more specifically, like one of the questions was, do you allow your flex agents to also be listing agents? We had a question around, do your flex agents work other lead sources? Is it brand new agents? Is it no brand new agents? Like, what are some of your hard boundaries and lines, or just principles when it comes to the agent avatar on your flex team? Let's go with Jennifer first.
Yeah, it's a great question, because that you have to learn that. You have to make mistakes and then go,
learn by doing
that
it.
again. Yeah. So it's a great question. So for us, it's kind of individual based on how well the agent's doing. If they're participating and they're showing up and their role plays are good and they're doing great, it's like, okay, you've graduated, you qualify to get Zillow leads, and then we're tracking them. So we're listening to their calls, we're seeing their conversion rates, so then they can stay on that program. But we quickly find out if somebody's not going to do that, then yes, we have other sources that they can do those instead. So we'll keep them fed with different types of lead sources. Same thing with listings. I think you want to have separate listing specialists than on call with Zillow, because it's just going to happen all day. You got to be on call, ready for that buyer, ready to get in the car. So I think it makes it really hard to do both. And I always tell my team, I'm like, it's a different part of your brain. You're going from literally negotiating to a buyer on how to save money to going to a seller with making them the most money. So I think it's hard anyway for them to be very efficient at both. So we separate that too.
How about real quick follow-up question? It looks like from Andrew in the chat was, do you have like a time frame on that? Like when you say like you quickly realize that someone's not or is, because is that sort of a consistent 60 days, or is there something that you're looking at there, or is it number of leads? Or
we won't give it that long.
Okay.
So we'll know quickly. So in the first week of boot camp, if they're not able to follow the script, and then when they get on a call, they're not actually using the script, that's our first sign.
Yeah.
So they're not going to continue to get calls because they're breaking it down from the first step.
I largely agree with that. I think within the first week, you can kind of get a sense for someone's comfort level, and kind of go from there. How about you, James? Avatar of flex agents and the types that you think are most successful now?
We definitely do not hire part-time agents. We have never really found success there. Our typical avatar, I love it when an agent is at another firm for 6 months to 2 years and just hasn't had a lot of success, especially a firm that doesn't give out leads. But we've had great success even with brand new agents. It's just amazing. I think the most important thing for us is we have a very in-depth interview process. It takes a little bit for them to get to the point where they talk to me. And so by that time, it kind of weeds out a lot of people. And then, of course, we really pay a lot of attention to our Flex scorecard. We look at that conversion rate. We look at it from a 90-day perspective and a 180-day perspective, and we update it weekly. And those that are on the top are those that get the leads. If you're below 5%, then I'm reticent to give you any flex leads until you start showing either more conversion or you start showing up to more of the trainings.
Very cool. How about almost along the same line of thinking, and let's just, James, stick with you since you're still off mute, like fatigue. So agent fatigue, flex fatigue. I think this is something that, especially if you're approaching a year and a half into this, you might have some really successful agents. They're doing great, but we've seen it all where they either start to build their own sphere and kind of pipeline of business, or maybe they're just like, going through the same routine. How do you keep things fresh, exciting? How do you keep agents from hitting that sort of flex fatigue?
Man, that's a great question. And there for a little bit, we were having a lot of agents really hit that fatigue level. We are giving them each about 15 leads a month, and that was just way too much. So since then, we've dialed it back down, and we try to really target 10 to 12 leads per month, at least from a flex perspective. But then part of it is that we're constantly monitoring their follow-up boss notes. Are they updating their Zillow Flex? So we just keep a pulse on it. And of course, constant communication. A big believer in over communicating with our agents.
Nice. I like that. I absolutely agree that, there's this kind of temptation with flex to sort of pour on the volume, hype up, all these leads, but in a lot of cases, less is more. And, sometimes even just getting less than 10 connections a month can be more sustainable long-term. How about Erica and Jennifer, real quick on anything related to keeping agents, fresh and motivated?
So I do want to touch on the listing question that people had, because it's very different from Jennifer's. I have always allowed agents to do the listing side as well, but the way that we do it is I have an MLS listing specialist that helps gather all the information, double check everything, make sure they're not doing any, violating any laws. I always have put my hands on the marketing and whatnot, but if I didn't allow, I've gotten some of my top producers because the teams at the time did not allow that kind of mix of listings and buyers, but they're not motivated to sniff out those listings if it's just going to be passed to another agent. And I have found that I'm like, if you've earned it, if you've looked and sought out that listing and you show me that you're better, then I might give you some of my calls to firm listing leads. I just kind of see how they do on that end. And then as far as fatigue, the main thing is the call shifts. So they have their calls for the week and then they don't the next week. And I found that a lot of agents get anxiety when they have it on all the time and it's just ringing. They start kind of mentally shutting down because it's like the app and the ringing just sets off this panic because they're like, I'm not hitting my 50% answer rate while I'm in this appointment. And so doing that call shift keeps them kind of more relaxed. Like they understand, okay, this week that could happen a little bit, but I'm going to answer the majority of my calls. And then next week, I don't have to worry about it at all.
I like that approach. I have a partner here in San Diego who call shifts, they said, was tremendously helpful for agent capacity and just, avoiding fatigue. Jennifer, I'm going to cut you short, but I'm going to have you start actually on our final question before I invite Alex up here to wrap up the summit today. So let's go in that reverse order. Jennifer, Erica, James, closing us out on this last question. Really just speaking to the hundreds of partners across the country. What, as you look back and reflect on your journey so far to get to the stage of success that you're at, if you had to really kind of boil it down to what's your one thing, like, was it, one particular hire? Was it one particular strategy or approach? What is your one piece of advice in closing to the partners on the call today?
Yeah, so mine would definitely be having that leadership team, having people around you that are all, trying to build this with you. You can't do it by yourself or you're going to get burnt out even as a team leader. I can't tell you how many times I said, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to go back to being an agent. Like I can't run this team anymore. So I felt that way so many times. And now that I have my leadership team with me, it's like, all right, Jen, cool off, go for a walk, come back. And so it's been really, really helpful to have just the right people around us.
Yeah, people often one of the best investments. You can go far alone, but even farther together. How about you, Erica? Your one thing?
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely the recruiting. I started panicking when we would increase our numbers and people would drop off, or, we had a lot of people that got sick last year when we first started, and some of my top producers, and I mean, it was like overnight, some of my top ones were out for months. And so I realized that I needed to really step that up and find the right people. So I would say recruiting.
Recruiting, having a deep bench, so that way you can, hire to where you're growing to, as opposed to being reactive and trying to catch up, especially if people are getting sick or something like that. All right, James, how about you? Your one thing.
I'd say it's regarding people as well, but it's kind of the opposite. What we found was some of our top producers were definitely not a great fit for Flex at all. And making that decision not to have them involved in Flex was a massive decision for us. That really took a lot of pressure off of us and allowed us to focus on some of those newer agents that were all about the Flex and that saw that excitement in it.
Yeah, I like that. The way you'd restructured from, a ton of people to having less, but having the right people, I think is so smart there. All right. So I just want to say thank you to the panelists today for coming up, presenting and sharing all of your, secrets today. And anyone that was on this call, hopefully you got a chance to either, grab their contact info, their social. We will be sharing this recording and info afterwards. So no worries if you didn't. But thank you. Hopefully everyone can, give you a huge thanks in the chat. And all right, that's going to be it. Well, we have Alex coming up here to close us out.
All right. Thank you. Like Connor said, thank you so much to all the panelists, Jennifer, Erica, and James, and Connor for facilitating, and Jeff Tucker, our chief economist, for giving us a housing update. Jam-packed agenda, like we said, these always are. I hope you had a ton of notes, a lot of takeaways. Please take a minute and give us some feedback in the post-event survey that should be posted in the chat. Here, we'll also follow up with an email to you all. We want to continue to provide more and more valuable content to this group every time we host a summit. Not just the high-level info, but tactful data and information that you can leverage tomorrow into your business. So the future is bright for Flex. Be on the lookout for an invite for our next summit, looking towards July, and excited to see you all again. Thank you all. Have a great day.